What's up, fellow gamers? I'm back with split format, back from the dead, once and for all. Here we are. Let me fix my positioning. Yeah, split format's back, better than ever, you might say. 2025 reboot, and this is the first game I'm showing a video of. I just played this match against Cow Ant Moose, otherwise known as Wooly, in our Discord server, and it was really fun. And I thought it would be a great way to like start off the split format videos now that I'm trying to get back into it, trying to reboot the format. We have a good selection of decks available, or card pools. Really, we have eight available to start with, plus the generic pool. Right now you can see I'm playing Volcanics with this volcanic rocket, and Wooly is playing TeleDAD, as in Dark Arm Dragon Emergency Teleport. So he's going to start off by using Armageddon Knight to send Malicious, pretty standard play. Or really, he might be, yeah, it's TeleDAD. Yeah, anyway, this is a like really good synchro engine, basically. Malicious gives you free level 6s, and then you have E-Tele for Creebons, or Armageddon Knight for Plague Spreader to make various synchro monsters. And it's kind of like a synchro toolbox, and then you have Dark Arm Dragon as one of your finishers. I play Volcanic Rocket to swing over his Armageddon Knight. This will get banished in the end phase, and you'll notice I didn't set this because I want my Gores to be alive. And if this is stuck on the field, I can never use Gores. So I wanted to make sure I get the Gores out of my hand, developed on the board before I set this and start my value engine. Especially since I don't even have anything to discard with this right now. If it got, say, yeah, hit by MST or Breaker, I would have lost my draw engine before I even like got it off the ground. So he's gonna Breaker, destroy my Wing Blast, and make this Orient Dragon. And then he did not swing because he was afraid of Gores, as he should be. But then here he swings 18 first, so he can just attack over the token I make. But then this 27 is gonna attempt to kill his Orient Dragon. Unfortunately, he does have Dimensional Prison, but that's okay because I have Dark Hole for the easy +1. And now you can see we're just very ahead on card advantage. And I have this reload active to start filling up my hand every turn with the Volcanic Shell to replace itself once I discard it. And here, I did not play the Breaker out to double my damage output because I did not want to play into Torrential Tribute, which I didn't know if he had it, but I played around it, and it ended up being like exactly the right call because he did have Torrential Tribute. So I was very correct to play around that, which is actually pretty cool. That decision actually went crazy there, playing around the Torrential. Ended up being like a pretty good move. And then here we start this like weird back row war of just like I know he's gonna deprison my rocket eventually, and so it's just this weird back row war of us just like drawing and setting traps over and over and over until someone finally gets a push through. And it's like who's it gonna be? But here I have Barrows, Lord of the Missing Barrows, the boss monster of the format, to banish this back row. He makes Creebons to stall for 1 turn, but it's not going to be enough. With my, I can Wing Blast whatever back row or monster he tries to play out, and he ends up failing an Allure for me to swing for game with Lord of the Missing Barrows. So that game went very well for me. I was able to like bait out his back row and then get my draw engine on the board and have it sit for a while and just draw me into the interaction I needed to like deal with his threats. So that game went very well for me. This hand's a little awkward. I do have options. I can rocket for reload, do some board wiping or some deck searching, or I can play Breaker to destroy a back row. I ended up going for the rocket. My logic here was if I play Breaker, or so like suppose this is, he had a bottomless that I got rid of, but suppose he had like another bottomless or a solemn. If I play Breaker, or mainly bottomless is the more common, since Solemn Warning isn't 1, Solemn Judgment isn't 1, but sometimes people don't play Judgment just because the life point cost is really big. Anyway, suppose this is bottomless. If I play Breaker to try to pop it, it gets bottomless. If I play Rocket, it still gets bottomless. But if I play Rocket and it gets bottomless, I still get to search this, and I have a board wipe, one-sided Red Geki live for his main phase. So I went with that rather than the Breaker, because if the Breaker gets hit by bottomless, I don't have my engine online. And either way, the Bryanak can just attack over whatever I summon if it's Breaker, but not if I can reload when he tries to attack. So that was my thinking with that. I went for the scattershot play to stop him from attacking. Of course, he attempts to Bryonac to bounce this, so I can't use it after he does his plays. And that does force it out. I scattershot this Bryonac. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I really didn't want him like building a giant board before I could deal with it. Maybe it was a misplay here. Maybe I should have, since the Bryonac was putting the reload in my hand, maybe I should have held the scattershot until he committed more to the board. That probably was a misplay, like the more I think about it. Because I end up using my one scattershot per game on just a lone Bryonac when he still has his normal summon available. And he ends up having Lord of the Missing Barrows instead, which is actually so much worse than him just having like a normal summon. And now I really wish I held that scattershot, because this is a 3100 beat stick that I'm going to have a hard time dealing with. He does not get the banish effect though, because it does have to hit 2 spells and traps from my field or graveyard, and I currently only have a Mystical Space Typhoon. But that doesn't really matter that much because he can just swing over it. And here I really wish I had a Gorz. And I think he felt safe swinging into my empty board here because I did have reload, which kind of telegraphs that I don't have Gorz in hand, otherwise I wouldn't have set the reload yet. Breaker's going to get over the Void Trap hole, which is pretty nice. And then I set 2 back row. Yeah, and then let's see what happens. I'm going to reload to draw another card. And then I can Wing Blast his Barrows, which unfortunately will let him just summon it again and reuse the banish effect. Well, he missed it the first time. But it gives him a second chance to use his banish effect, unfortunately, which ended up being really unfortunate because my next draw was Smashing Ground. And I could have just taken the 1500 damage and destroyed it for good, rather than putting it on top of his deck and letting him summon and use it again. So that ended up being really unfortunate. And but there was no way I would have known my top deck was Smashing Ground. Like, what can you do? So here I use my discarded shell to get another shell. And I'm going to draw a card with reload. See if I can get anything good to deal with this Barrows. And I get Volcanic Emperor, which is insane. Like, this card's at 1, so I drew the 1 copy of it out of 27 cards in the deck, which is probably the best possible card I could have drawn. And here I'm like, no way, I think he calls it the Monarchy. But here I'm like, no way, I think this gives me game. But no, it is 100 damage short. Because when I summon him, he banishes 3 Pyros to do 1500 burn damage. If he had just like bottomless this, for example, I would have had 2000 burn damage and 1 on the spot. But because I had no Pyros banished before, it only does 3 times 500. And I don't play any Volcanic Traps to search because there's only 1 in the format and I didn't feel like it was worth running. So I get 3100 direct, and then 1600 direct and the 1500 burn for a total of 6200, which is 100 shy of lethal. And now I know this Barrows is coming next turn to wipe my board. I do have the oh yeah, and he has the Barrows could deal with 1 monster, but he even has Dark Hole to deal with the Breaker, which he honestly he could have just attacked anyway. Oh no, he Dark Holes because it gives him a synchro play with malicious. Nope, he doesn't have a hand. No, I think this. Now that I think about it, I don't think this Dark Hole did anything for him. He could have held it because Barrows is gonna banish my Emperor and then swing over the Breaker anyway. Well, actually, no, well, yeah, but unless I bottomless. But then if I bottomless, then he can Dark Hole the Breaker. So, like, I really don't think he should have played this Dark Hole first. It didn't do much for him. He could have just held it in case I responded to this, and then Dark Hold afterward. Or if I didn't have a response, he gets to save this Dark Hole for when he really needs it. But he shotguns it anyway, and then uses the Barrows. He goes to banish the Scattershot because he didn't know I could revive Emperor from grave. He thought it was only from hand. But I pointed that out. I was like, you have to banish Emperor or I win. So I let him just like banish the Emperor instead. Yeah, and then here he goes for Malicious just to like have a defender on board, I guess, because he does have 100 life points. But I do have that Smashing Ground, and so here I'm like praying for just any monster whatsoever so I can Smashing Ground and swing for game. Unfortunately, I got a Heavy Storm, so I just have to pass. He goes for Ancient Fairy Dragon. Swings at me for 3,300, draws a card. The card he draws is a Deep Prison, which is fine because I have this Heavy Storm. I did not set the Heavy Storm to bluff, obviously, because I don't want it to like get MST'd when I like really needed it. And then here, please, I'm begging for a monster. I don't get a monster, but as I'm like checking my graveyard looking for anything I can possibly do, I realize I only ever used 2 of the Volcanic Shells. So I still had another one in my deck that I could have even searched for last turn. But thankfully I noticed this time and didn't just like pass like an idiot. I did my due diligence and checked my graveyard for any possible options. And I did have the third shell. So I heavy stormed the D prison, smash and ground the ancient fairy dragon, ancient fairy life dragon, normal summon volcanic shell, and attack for game. What a crazy finish. Yeah, so that was a crazy game. He played Ward of the Missing Barrows twice on me, and I still somehow managed to overcome it and win, which is just crazy. Like, Ward of the Barrows is kind of like the big boss monster boogeyman in the format. Like, think Blackluster Soldier in GOAT format, or think like Dark Arm Dragon in Edison format. It's just like the big giant boy you can summon for free later in the game once your graveyard is set up, and it just has a very powerful effect on summon and very big stats. And it's limited to one copy, so it's like the one giant power card every deck gets to play. I'm playing it as well, of course, because all you need is a spell trap and monster in your graveyard to summon it. But yeah, what's crazy is he summoned it twice, and I was still able to barely get through and attack for lethal with Volcanic Shell. And I thought that was just such a sick way to end the game. I wanted to show y'all. Yeah, so I'm going to hopefully do more split format videos in the future, do some deck profiles. Yeah, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching.